Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. There is a lot in here as usual. We have royal family stuff, and then we have some news stories. Was Meghan caught being edited in again, just like with her podcast? And of course, Sentebale updates. There's just so much. So let's just jump in and cover it, shall we? Let's go. On March 26, Charles and Camilla, along with the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, attended a reception for a lot of different media organizations from across the country at Buckingham Palace. The very first thing I thought of is, remember, Meghan said they were having press parties at the palace for good coverage, Christmas parties. No, what they're saying here is that we value your work. And before anybody says anything, let me jump in a little further and explain. Keep in mind, the only people complaining about the UK press were Harry and Meghan. The King, in the meantime, has said that local journalism is the cornerstone of democracy and that the nation would be poorer without it. Charles stated that the work of the press, television, and radio, shining a light on injustice and wrongdoing, should also not be underestimated, nor should its role in promoting community cohesion. He's absolutely right. All right, let's move on. All right, moving on to Camilla. She marked the ITV's 70th birthday with a special visit to the set of a show called Trigger Point. I've never heard of that show, but it must be something big. The show is on its third season and it was being filmed. And so Camilla went with Dame Carolyn McCall, the chief executive of ITV, and Trigger Point's executive producer, Jed Mercurio. She did a bunch of different things. She did being a camera assistant. She took charge of the clapperboard, I think is what they call it. Then she watched a scene being filmed on location in central London. She had headphones on and she was able to watch all the action unfold. And she said that it looked very fascinating the way the show was put together. And then Camilla learned about how all the special effects are added later on. She got to see some of the props they use, including a bomb suit, I guess, and she said it was very light because obviously a bigger one would be difficult to walk in. When that part of it was over, Camilla headed to the Brent Civic Center where she attended a reception remember, this was marking the channel's 70th birthday, and there were a lot of big name people there, like Lorraine Kelly. She then gave a speech which I thought was really cute. She said, and I'm quoting, "I'd like to say a very, very happy 70th birthday to you all. I'm a bit older, and I do remember ITV starting on those very old televisions in the days, and I remember the excitement of suddenly having another channel." I love that. She said, "To watch how you've gone from there and how much you've appealed to the nation is absolutely brilliant." I completely agree. All right, let's move on. On March 24th, the Duchess of Edinburgh, who is patron of the Chartered Management Institute, attended an event at Arden University. Now, keeping with Duchess Sophie, who's still in Brussels, she attended a reception and met leading child safety NGOs to discuss innovative strategies to combat child sexual exploitation and abuse. Now, also, of course, while she's in Brussels on the 26th, she attended a reception given by the ambassador to the European Union at his residence in Brussels. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what she was wearing. And we're going to continue on now with the news that King Charles went into the hospital and is skipping royal events for the next day. Remember that he was diagnosed with cancer last February. And what's going on is that they're claiming some temporary side effects from his ongoing medical treatment. So by the time this news came out, he had already gone back to Clarence House. He was supposed to take a tour of Birmingham's Royal Ballet, but no, they decided that he needed to rest. Also, the Queen did not go with him to the hospital. So I think this wasn't such a big deal, but of course, in full transparency, they're letting everybody know about it. The next day, the King was pictured waving when he left Clarence House on his way to Highgrove for a little rest and relaxation. I wonder if the chemo just didn't make him nauseated and he had to go in for some fluids. It could be something that simple. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. All right, let's move on. Let's move on now to Prince William. On the 27th, he was in Aberdeen in the north of Scotland because of his Homewards project. So we know that this is a big thing for him. And what he did was he teamed up with Gail Porter. Most of you know that she's a TV personality. He also teamed up with podcaster Steve Bartlett to help showcase some of the latest ideas to help beat homelessness in Aberdeen. Now, Gail Porter is one of his Homewards advocates and has helped raise the profile of William's 5-year mission. Remember, there's 6 pilot areas around the UK that they're all trialing different location-specific ideas to help tackle the issue of, people that don't have anywhere to live. And in each area, there's a coalition of homelessness charities, local authorities, and businesses that have come together to help try to solve the issues. There were several things that William did that day, but one of the interesting things was he went to a graduation event with trainees and staff, and they were marking the launch of an initiative in Aberdeen that offers guides through the tour, city guides. So one of the things William did after he met up with Gail Porter were they went to meet residents who moved into one of the 31 newly furnished homes in Aberdeen. They were delivered by Homewards Aberdeen Initiative Housing Project. Now this is really exciting. Remember, these are the very first people to receive a home through William's Homeward Bound initiative. So they're very excited because through the initiative, they provided safe and secure homes, and they're also fostering a supportive environment. This is really cool. Now remember, there's also some housing being built on the Duchy of Cornwall. There's all kinds of stuff going on all over the place. William, FYI, was supposed to be driving between events, and instead he did a 30-minute walk through the city led by a person named Angus Sterling, who was once homeless. Now, he has a job as a guide with, quote, Invisible Cities. And what they do is they offer city tours across the UK guided by people who have been homeless. Now, while we're still talking about Prince William, I should let you guys know that as I informed you yesterday, he's going to star in an episode of Clarkson's Farm after meeting one of the stars, Caleb Cooper, on Wednesday. And this has thrown the Sussex squad into a tizzy because, after all, Jeremy Clarkson was one of Meghan Markle's biggest critics. And so the Sussex squad are writing things like William appearing on that show as a slap in the face to Meghan, and they can't believe that he would do that after all the vile things he said about his brother's wife. Really? But you don't have any issue with the things that Harry said about William's wife? You see the double standard that goes on here? All right, let's move on to our Harry-Meghan stuff. This story came out and somehow it just did not surprise me. What we found out is that with the show With Love Meghan, they actually had to step in. Netflix had to step in and edit some stuff in to make it seem that Meghan was asking questions of her guests because all Meghan was doing was talking about herself. Is anybody shocked by that? Because I'm not. So here's a perfect example. During the scene with Mindy Kaling, remember, they were coming over and she was making finger food for the children's party that had no children. Well, Meghan can be heard spending a lot of time speaking about the meals she was making and saying to Mindy different anecdotes about her personal life, including the story about her science teacher who had recently passed away. Mindy barely spoke until the last 15 minutes when she started talking about sharing loving restaurants and food when she was growing up. So the questions apparently were not posed in real time. A voiceover is heard of Meghan asking Mindy, what kind of things did you like to do as a kid? And the editing fail was also spotted by Megyn Kelly. The problem is you can see the break. It's like someone had to coach Meghan on how to be a normal person who's an actual friend who has an interest in something other than themselves. More than likely, a producer asked Mindy to share some story of her childhood because obviously Meghan wasn't asking her to share anything. It's really gotten to the point where people are thinking, if the two of them want to bash on about what great people they are, yet they're constant victims, we don't have to run with that narrative anymore. I'm so sick of hearing about her. I have Sussex fatigue. All right, let's move on. All right, moving on. Meghan is doing exactly what she did before. She's sending her jam and her jelly in this really pretentious, over-the-top packaging to her friends, her 2 or 3 friends. Or, you know what? I don't even know that I would call them friends, but they're putting up Instagram posts. Oh, look, my son loves this. Ooh, this is great. But if you look really closely at the packaging, it doesn't say that it's raspberry jam. It doesn't say that it's raspberry jelly. It says raspberry spread. It doesn't say anything about it being organic. And then, of course, Meghan put up an Instagram post showing how this stuff is being made, mass produced in a factory somewhere with raspberries. We don't know where this is being produced. We don't know where the fruit is being sourced from. We don't know what's in it. Could you imagine paying $50, $60 for this when you can get products directly from Charles that are guaranteed to be organic and 100% of the proceeds go to charity, whereas with Meghan, everything goes into her own pocket. And the interesting thing about this whole thing is she keeps sending these out to her friends, but why are you advertising for something that's not even available for sale? Do I think the Sussex squad is going to buy some? Absolutely. Absolutely. Are they going to be able to buy enough to make this sustainable? No, I don't think they are. I also find it interesting that she's putting up clips from her Netflix show that were turned away from the cutting board. Now, of course, a poll was done. People said, what do you think about this venture? And 99% of the people that responded said they would not buy from her website. I don't think this is going to go well for her. All right, let's go back to the whole Sentebale thing. We all saw this video where Meghan Markle literally wanted the chairwoman not next to Harry, but over on the other side. And the event was a cause that Meghan is not even linked to. It's Prince Harry's. But remember, she kept telling the chairwoman to move so she could make herself center stage. And you have to wonder, if this is what went on publicly, what's going on behind the scenes? So Harry, who we know has dressed as a Nazi and who made statements about Chelsea, she's not black or anything. I still find it shocking that the only person who's actually acted like a racist is now caught in a racism row while claiming his brothers and the family is a racism, but I digress. What's being said is that Harry has been urged to take responsibility for this row that's going on because this is injuring Meghan and her brand. Now, let's be honest. This is probably why we're seeing all the Instagram posts from Meghan and all this stuff going on, because she's trying to divert attention. Don't look over there. No. Look over here. Get it? So here's what I think is actually happening. And I saw this on Twitter by the Prince, because I believe this is accurate. Remember when Harry jetted off last minute to Singapore because he was chasing after William, who had just been there for his planned 2 years in advance for his charity, the Earthshot Prize? You guys remember that? Well, Sentebale, it's being reported, apparently footed his entire bill, every last expense for Harry when he went there. So Sophie, as chair, attended but saw right through it and what he was doing. What does Singapore have to do with Africa? Why is African Charity bankrolling a polo match in Asia? It appears that Harry's been treating the charity like his personal PR machine and he neglected it. So Sophie shut it down. She yanked all the fundraising back to Africa, moved its headquarters to Africa, and cut off Harry's slush fund for his basically self-serving PR. So realizing that he hasn't put the charity's best interests first, he and all of his people just basically bailed, and they've left a big whopping mess behind. I feel like Harry's statement was leaked because he's trying to get ahead of it. You know what I'm saying? And let's hope, now that Harry is out, that this woman might feel free to tell us about any misappropriation of funds that she might have uncovered, money that was meant for underprivileged HIV people. You know what I'm saying? I think Harry's been caught with his hand in the cookie jar. The next chapter has come out. Baroness Chalker, who was a trustee on this charity for 20 years, said that because of Sophie Chanduka's leadership, which was almost dictatorial, that's why she stepped down. She goes, I was not happy with the direction the chair was taking or was not taking, and I became a trustee back in the beginning, and I just didn't feel I had the opportunity or energy to put it right, and that's why she backed out. She also said she didn't blame the board for resigning, and she was very upset that this woman said that this was a vanity project for Harry. I want to make a quick personal comment here. It has not escaped my attention that Harry and the board basically wanted this woman gone, and now he's using the media against her to try to turn public opinion against her. Isn't that what Harry claimed the palace did to him? And finally, I want to end with what happened with Tom Bradby. You know, he stepped into the world of royal reporting in the early 2000s, and over time, William and Harry came to trust him, and by 2004, he was the one that was filming Harry in Southern Africa on his gap year. He also had, by the way, Prince William's private mobile number. When William got engaged to Catherine, they used him for the interview. When William's phone got hacked, it was Bradby that said that the palace should go to the police. So great was the trust that this guy and his wife were invited to William and Catherine's wedding, and then to Catherine's sister, Pippa. He went to that wedding, and of course, he was also invited to Harry and Meghan's wedding. And because he was so close to the family, in 2019, he went with Harry and Meghan on their tour of Southern Africa. And that's when he did all those horrible interviews with Meghan. Nobody asked me if I'm okay. William had no idea what Harry was saying until he watched it on TV like everybody else. So it appears that Bradby has just swallowed Harry's version of events fully. And so William cut him off. It still appears, by the way, that it was Bradby who told Meghan who to call to get Piers Morgan into trouble. It's being reported that Mr. Bradby is the golden boy of ITV because, after all, he has a hotline to Prince Harry. And then we know what happened. Harry wrote the spare, and so what did he do? He called Tom Bradby to do the interview. You guys remember this.
Never needed to be this way. The leaking and the planting. I want a family, not an institution. They feel as though it's better to keep us somehow as the villains. They've shown absolutely no willingness to reconcile. I would like to get my father back. I would like to have my brother back.
Harry also made a fool out of Tom Bradby by denying that they ever accused the royals of being racist. Now, in the meantime, Tom Bradby is doing his best to stay out of the middle of the two brothers. And now, because of Harry's damaged popularity, he's keeping more distance from him because I think he realized he's on the losing team. Well, that's what happens when you crap on your friends. He had a choice to make. And he made a bad choice because he was chasing fame. You're famous. Oh, make your comments good for this one. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the links to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my Amazon wish list, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale, and a link to my second channel where you'll find my recipes and, of course, Finn and Toodles, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.